How's it going, cool people? Lee Banali here. New reaction for you today. So IGN recently released their final preview for the Dead Space remake. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this game. I know I've been looking forward to it. So let's just jump right into it, see what they thought of the game, and hopefully everything is looking to be in the right direction. Let's go. My goodness!
A few days ahead of visiting EA Motive for our Dead Space focused IGN first, I played the original game for the first time since 2008. I only intended to play the first hour or so, but 7 hours later, I found myself still battling through the rusted corpse of the USG Ishimura. I always knew Dead Space was a modern classic, but I was surprised just how well it stood up all these years later. And so I headed to meet the developers with a slightly cynical mindset. What was the point of remaking something that remains so brilliant? After playing the same 7 hours of the remake, I think I may have been convinced. In many ways, Dead Space is a purist remake.
Visually,
I estimate that around 85% of what I experienced was identical to the original game, just with vastly superior visuals. But it's the other 15% that has me quietly wondering, could this remake genuinely be better than its progenitor?
Oh shit. You think so? I mean, if they're able to up the atmosphere, the intensity through the visuals, the environment, but keep everything else the same,
many of
then
these
maybe.
changes are gameplay improvements, several of which are drawn directly from Dead Space 2. The zero gravity sequences now allow you to move freely in all directions, rather than hop from surface to surface. This obviously allows for a better sense of freedom, but segments redesigned around this ability are notably more interesting than their original counterpart. The centrifuge generator puzzle in Chapter 3 is now a genuine spectacle, while the ADS cannon repair job has been completely changed to be a dangerous spacewalk that amps up the tension.
That's what I'm talking about. Increase the intensity.
The 2011 sequel's influence can be found in your weapons too, which can now be fitted with a variety of special upgrades that alter their function. The plasma cutter, for instance, can be modded with an extended magazine and the ability to set foes alight for damage over time. The Ripper, meanwhile, can fire blades that ricochet around the room, allowing for trick shots. Such modifications are found hidden around the ship, and so they act as encouragement to explore every room and store cupboard. But thanks to a new security clearance system, you're initially locked out of many side locations you discover. As the story progresses, you're granted increasing levels of clearance, and so you can then backtrack through the now seamless spaceship to open doors that were once forbidden. This interconnected design and backtracking turns the Ishimura into something closer to the Talos 1 station from Prey, a huge structure that feels like a genuine place rather than a series of video game levels. It's an admirable direction, but I've yet to see exactly how well it's used across the full campaign. My hope is that Motive has smartly weaved backtracking into the main missions and the newly added side quests to allow for organic revisits of prior areas, rather than making
That's what I'm hoping as well.
A segregated chore.
Make it part of the overall experience. You went into one specific area, oh shit.
Regardless of if you're backtracking or making forward progress, Dead Space is full of horrifying necromorphs that threaten to rip you limb from limb. Much has already been made of the new peeling system that rips the skin, fat and muscle layers away from enemies with each new wound. But there's more to this grotesque idea than just visceral visuals. Much like how protagonist Isaac Clarke has a health bar built directly into his suit, the necromorphs' own bodies are now a visual representation of their health. This is never more obvious than when using the Force Gun, a weapon that has been completely overhauled for the remake. What was once simply a pushback weapon now rips the flesh off enemies with a thunderous blast. The stripped down necromorphs can then be finished off with a more conventional weapon, their exposed bones ready to be snapped with just a round.
It's like you're chipping away at their armor.
Each one of Isaac's lethally repurposed tools has been redesigned to encourage a new level of strategy. Dismemberment is still the main aim of every skirmish, but the flamethrower's new alternate fire creates a wall of searing flame that can cordon off areas and manage crowds, while the pulse rifle's new proximity mine works as both a trap and a makeshift grenade launcher. These are small changes, but I found the new secondary abilities to be much more useful than those in the original game, and they soon became a regular part of my combat routine. My favourite change I've seen so far though are the circuit breakers. These occasional puzzles require you to reroute power to different machines, typically to open up locked doors. Each breaker box has a limited number of fuses though, and so powering up a door is done at the expense of powering down something else. In an early example, this involved turning off an elevator I no longer needed, but in Chapter 3 I was confronted with a much more intriguing sacrifice. To power up a refuel station, I had to divert energy away from either the engineering deck's lights or life support systems. It was a choice. Should I stumble onwards in pitch darkness and risk being ambushed by unseen threats, or navigate well-lit corridors while my air supply rapidly ran dry?
That's
it's a smart
crazy
way to combine challenge with player choice, and I hope this example is the first of many fiendish scenarios rather than a one-off occurrence.
Looks like we're walking around in the dark.
Graphics aside, the most notable change right from minute 1 is the alterations to the script and storytelling. Once silent protagonist Isaac can now speak, and while I do think this is largely unnecessary, he thankfully hasn't been turned into an overly chatty Sony character. Rather than quipping at everything, Isaac's ability to respond anchors him into the horrifying situation in a realistic manner.
Limit it, but make it meaningful.
Fucking monsters.
Gunnar Wright, the voice actor who brought Isaac to life in the sequels, reprises the role, and so once again there's the sense that elements of Dead Space 2 are being retrofitted into the original. Isaac's new scripting is pretty good, but the best changes have been made to Kendra Daniels. Once an incredibly thorny character, she's been transformed into a much more empathetic and friendly colleague for Isaac. And for anyone who knows the final direction of Dead Space's story, I think Daniels' revised personality will work much better with her character arc, provided, of course, the story's main plot beats remain intact. Talking of the story's pathway, the Church of Unitology, a religious sect and a major player in the Dead Space universe, is introduced much earlier in this remake and in a far more organic manner. These characters know the Church's reputation and casually discuss it, even before they are aware that it will change their lives forever. It's an approach I really appreciate, and I think the eventual plot reveals will be much more meaningful because of it.
But if they found this on some alien planet, what does that mean?
That Unitology's onto something?
Unitology's full of shit.
Motive has made many smart changes to Dead Space, but it never shakes things up to the point of being unrecognisable. The result, at least across the first several chapters, is something that feels similar in philosophy to a director's cut, albeit a director's cut that's completely refilmed on brand new sets. This experience appears largely the same as the 2008 original, but honed and polished to a beautiful, gory finish.
It looks
As such, this remake will likely work best for brand new players or the most dedicated Dead Space fans.
I heard something up there. Something big. Watch your back.
As someone who loves the original game, I found what I played an absolute thrill. But for less invested fans, the value is of a more questionable quantity, since even with the changes, this is an incredibly similar experience. As such, I don't think Dead Space will be as essential and transformative as the Resident Evil 2 remake was. As the best possible way to play this landmark survival horror though, I have near enough no doubt that Dead Space will succeed in that mission. For more from the Dead Space remake, check out the first 18 minutes of the game
Damn, man.
and how Isaac's suit was redesigned. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
It's coming out so soon as well. The biggest takeaways from this is that the game's going to feel awfully familiar. The gameplay aspects have been changed to better suit, I guess, the current generation. The visuals look amazing, especially obviously putting it side by side with the original. I played the first Dead Space so long ago, I can't remember finishing it, but I hope to play this later on a little bit this year. Not at launch, but maybe later on down the line. But what did you guys think? Did you enjoy that preview? Does it make you want to pick up the game? Could you care less? Did you play the original? Let me know down in the comments below. Please do, of course, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel. Plenty of content on the channel every week. I'd super appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Peace.